We're joined again today by longtime friend of the show and creator of the Apollo Reddit client, Christian Selig. It's great to have you back.
Pleasure to be back. How are you guys doing?
Oh yeah, I'm getting by. Nice bright and early morning for me. I didn't get up for the show though, unfortunately. It was 1 a.m. WWDC for me, as it normally is. It didn't even feel that important this time, considering it was all pre-recorded.
I think it's probably safe at this point to say it's kind of becoming a tradition to have you on talk about WWDC.
That's awesome. I'd love that to be a tradition.
Well, it's good to have someone more on the inside, even though on the inside kind of means something different this year.
Yeah. Well, it's neat just being able to record this from like, I wouldn't say this a proper setup or anything, but I'm at least in like a room with a microphone and my monitors at least. Last year I was like in an Airbnb laying on the bed with staring at the ceiling with a mic to my mouth, and the rest of the people in the Airbnb probably thought I was nuts. But so yeah, this works a little easier to record. But yeah, it's a shame everything's not in person.
So before we dive into the nitty gritty of what was announced yesterday, what's kind of your like surface level take? How did you feel about the keynote yesterday?
It was really exciting, and I loved the like, I guess I miss in a way the live off the cusp aspect of it, but the pre-recorded, like the production quality was so good. They went through everything so fast. The graphics were great. Like it was a really enjoyable keynote, and just of course the content behind it was awesome too. Like I'm not even a Mac developer first and foremost. It'd be fun to be one day, but the just like all the ARM Mac stuff for the Apple Silicon, I guess they're calling it, stuff was super exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the rest of this week unfolds.
I know as someone who hasn't actually ever attended in person, it sure felt a lot more energetic and exciting to watch this pre-recorded keynote. But I imagine as someone who's actually been there in the audience in person, you're probably lacking a lot of the energy you normally feel in these keynotes.
That's true. Yeah, I guess the audience does give off a certain energy through everything. But at the same time, like I guess it's probably helps the energy of the presenters a lot more, being able to not necessarily have to nail everything on the first take. Like the stress levels must be so high
right
up on that stage versus being able to, do 22 takes, in a nice air-conditioned Apple office.
I kept waiting for the shot on iPhone graphic to appear somewhere, like towards the end of it, but I never saw it.
What a waste. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
At least
I guess they had so many drone shots though, they'd need to like tape an iPhone to one of those DJI things. Yeah.
I definitely didn't miss the 30 minutes or so this year of someone on stage pretending to play an AR game or something though. So I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Projecting onto the two tables and everything. Right. Yeah, no, I hear you there.
All right. I guess we jump right into this first topic, the iOS 14.
So we're gonna take this in the order that they presented. I would be happy to go with.
I think that makes the most sense.
I guess they probably knew what they were doing when they chose that order. Who are we to say different?
And James has got, and I don't think you're gonna have access to this, but James shared with me a very nice curated list of all the bullet points in order of what they announced. So
I'm really excited to talk about EV routing.
Oh, do you have an electric car?
No.
That was sarcasm, right?
That would be fun. I'm in like the Middle Eastern Canada. It's like there's like 2 car chargers here.
So I know going into this, I expected iOS to actually be the smallest of the updates this year. I really thought it was going to be kind of a polish and performance update. So I was very happily surprised to see just how many features they packed in this year.
Yeah, no, they really did. I mean, I knew they did, but looking at the list here, yeah, man, they really nailed it.
I thought it was even a little bit light on compared to previous years.
Well, yeah, I guess like you said, with given the choice though, light and bug free, I think I'd take that. I think maybe they realized they were a little overzealous last year.
Yeah, most certainly. Yep. A little bit of like catch up to Android in some respects, a little bit of polish over here, a bit of shine over there. Yeah, I certainly don't mind a release that's, biting off a little less and then chewing it more.
And I wonder how many of these are going to be iOS 13 style, where we're going to see like, 14.5 coming out still with updates, or are these all slated for 14.0 in September or whatever?
That's an interesting question, because like pre-iOS 13, generally anything announced was like released in the first release, but Now we're seeing like 0.1 and 0.2, 0.3 all bringing these features almost not quite one by one, but they're certainly spaced out over the release cycle.
Yeah, and I don't even remember if it was like with 13 were they like it's going to be like that, or did they hit September and be like we need a bit more time?
I reckon it was an crap.
So, yeah. So yeah, maybe they're slated for 14, but I guess we'll have to see in end of August.
Well, I don't know if you've tried it out yet, Christian, but I immediately put the developer beta 1 on my iPhone, and I have to say it's pretty smooth and bug free even at this point. I got a couple resprings here and there, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with it.
No, I wasn't quite that brave. I put it on a spare iPhone, but no, I totally agree. I'm probably going to end up putting it on my main one soon. It's pretty damn spiffy, all things considered. Especially for beta 1. It's not even like the public beta.
Right. Well, when you think about it, they kind of had an extra month to work on it, seeing as WWDC is usually at the beginning of June.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. But I guess that's an 1 month less of refinements they get during the summer, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I saw, Christian, you tweeted something interesting earlier, is that you've got more users on the iOS 14 non-public beta than you do on iOS 12 at this point on Apollo.
Yeah, basically. So I've got more on, like, I guess what would be the most recent version of iOS 12. So if you take iOS 12 and like the collective, it's beating it by a little bit. But iOS 14 has just about as much as the most recent version of iOS 12, which I think is like 12.4.2, which is crazy, because as soon as it gets, I think they said July is the public beta. As soon as that comes out, it's going to be like, wouldn't surprise me if they're halfway to iOS 13. It seems like everyone on Reddit installs the public beta.
Yeah, certainly not all developers, are they?
No. I can't even remember if they need to pay the $100 a year or whatever, or if you can just go with a free account. But
it's literally so easy just to install it without having a developer account. There are websites where you just download a beta profile, a developer beta profile. People used to pay for this sort of thing. There used to be sites that charged like $3-4 for it. But yeah. I guess Apple must have,
because you could pay the $100 and spread it.
Yeah, I think Apple cracked down on those, and now it's just like literally go there, download the profile, pay nothing.
It's pretty much the same time they started having public betas. They stopped really enforcing developers only running it, regardless of which profile.
Well, that's good, because that's kind of silly otherwise. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what version of iOS are you running, James?
Why do you have to bring this up, David?
Oh, you're not on like 11 or something, are you? Where's the end call button?
I'm just bringing up settings, general, settings just crashed. Now it's got to reload. Settings, general, about 7.1.2.
Okay, so you're at least pretty retro then.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're gonna be outdated, you might as well go the whole 9 yards. Right?
Yeah, you may as well do it properly. Yeah, no point messing around with like anything between 8 and 11. No, I'm on a spare phone. I'm between phones at the moment, so I'm on the backup, which is an iPhone 4. Hence the funny question, David.
No, you're actually on iOS 7.
Yeah, he really.
Yeah,
is.
literally. It's.
Oh my god! I thought you were messing with me. Jesus. Oh man, I'd love to see that pop up in my analytics. There's like you and one other guy.
Does Apollo support iOS 7?
No, the earliest it supports is, I guess, iOS 10, I think. And even that, there's like a handful of people on it. I really need to drop that. I just feel so bad.
So, well, you're completely SOL. I think the iPhone 4 runs, iOS 8 at the newest, James?
No, I think 7's the newest. I haven't seen an update pop up.
Oh, man.
Huh. Well, that's a pretty good one to stop with.
No, I'm looking forward to a new iPhone in the next week or two.
So what, did you just drop your old one?
My little boy threw it in the toilet.
Naturally. So it wasn't one of the waterproof ones?
It wasn't, no. It was an original SE.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Well, at least they've got the new SEs.
I love that phone. I'm even considering still getting another SE.
Yeah, I mean, in us Commonwealth countries, it's still the pricing's still pretty rough, but it's better than the other iPhones at least.
I like that we have got some like solidarity here with Commonwealth countries.
Yeah, we still got. You guys got booted out by the Queen or whatever, at least, but I think we still both. She reigns over us in some capacity.
Yep, she's on our coin. On yours too, I guess.
Yeah, one of them at least, yeah. Or a few of them, probably.
And speaking of the original SE, how do you feel about it still being supported in iOS 14?
Well, honestly, I guess given the choice between it being dropped and none of those users ever upgrading to iOS 14, that would almost be more annoying. And like, given that the iPod Touch is still being sold now, like, and it's got that cramped UI, like, I mean, just throw them on the bone. It's not really any problem, I guess, at this point. I'll be happy when we lose those like super, super narrow with the iPhones just for design purposes. But
Right.
as long as they're still updating, I'm happy, and I can still use the cool stuff in iOS 14.
I think, what is this, 7 years now for the iPhone 6S to be supported? I feel like that's a record.
Yeah, that's a good run.
Well, now that we've spent 20 minutes having a whinge, as James would say, maybe we should actually jump into what's changed in iOS.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
That's what we're talking about.
WWDC this year. Yeah.
Guys, we have a list.
Right.
So, as someone who was always a big fan of Windows Phone, I was really happy with all the updates we got this year, specifically kind of the tile-like widgets, and then the app library is all very reminiscent of how Windows Phone worked.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I saw a few people tweeting about that, and I was like, I don't get... I never had a Windows Phone, so I don't get the likeness, but okay, that's what they were talking about.
If you didn't care about using apps, it was great.
No, I've still, honest to goodness, have a friend who uses a Windows Phone daily, and we rib him quite a bit for it.
So the app library is the way to lose your like home screens after number 1 or 2, or really whatever number you choose, because as Craig put it, I think it was Craig at this point, you have muscle memory for like the first screen, and then you've got like a little bit less muscle memory for your second home screen, and then after that it's just like a shit fight of apps.
Falls right off. Yeah.
I just used to run them in alphabetical order after the first screen anyway, because I could never remember anything was. But now you can...
that's so much more organized.
Yeah, it kind of worked. But now you can just like untick those screens, and those apps just appear in an app library, and you don't even have to like open folders, because like the first ones in each category, I guess, are just clickable straight on the screen as well, tappable rather. So,
yeah, no, I really like that.
Yeah.
I think if I had one complaint, it's that I kind of wish, and hopefully this comes later on in other betas, I wish I could organize the categories in the app library, because I don't think Apple's automatic categorization exactly matches what's intuitive to me. So like it mixes my banking apps in with like my programming apps and things like that, because it's all productivity. So hopefully in the future they'll let you customize that a bit more.
Yeah, and it's weird Apollo shows up in like reading and reference or something, even though it's like listed in the social networking category of the App Store. It's all very...
so it doesn't follow App Store categorization
necessarily. Well, it's weird. I was trying to figure out how it does it, because I think like you can list your app in 2 sections, because most apps apply in multiple, and I think I'm listed in the news section and the social networking section. So to me, that would make it seem like not the most productive app in the world. But yeah, it
like
adds in with like the New York Times. Yeah, no, exactly, right? So yeah, there's always people being like, Screen Time keeps labeling it as if I'm doing some intense studying when I'm just, looking at memes. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea how iOS organizes it like that.
Well, one thing I do like in the app library, Apollo shows up for me in a special section of test flight apps. So it's kind of nice to have those all curated in one spot.
That is smart. I didn't even think of that.
A little bonus feature of the app library is when you tap on the search field at the top, you actually just get an alphabetical list of all your apps as well. So
you don't have to manually sort that.
Yeah, it's like a handy cheat to just give you a list of apps, which is something I never imagined seeing on iOS, really.
No, I mean, it's hilarious to say that out loud because it's such a simple idea, but no, I completely agree.
I am curious how most people actually use their iPhones, because my standard layout for probably the last decade has been my main page, which is pretty close to Apple's default page layout. And then I have a second page that is like 2 or 3 rows of folders with every app I download organized in those folders, and that's it. I've never run into the I have too many screens issue.
See, I think you're just much more. Your life is much better put together. it's. I think it's a reflection of the person. Yeah, I it would take all of 4 minutes to do that, but my pages keep piling up and piling up. So yeah, I'm super happy to just like, it's the same with like my desktop on my Mac. Like people are fanatical about organizing it. And I just use that like terminal command that just completely hides every icon on it, because I'm sure if I looked at it, it would, be the worst thing you could ever imagine.
So you have like documents and folders completely hidden from sight on your desktop?
Yeah. Like if you do the gesture or whatever to go to your desktop, it's literally just the wallpaper.
That's such a good idea. I'm definitely going to look that up after this show.
No, it's super handy. Like ever since they started offering like the iCloud syncing of the desktop, it's kind of just been my like default like inbox, almost like in a to-do list app. Like it's just, if I don't know where to put it, I'll just throw it on my desktop and have it searchable later. And yeah, when I was doing that, the physical desktop by my wallpaper looked terrible. So yeah, that had to go.
And I also have a blank desktop, but it's because I don't keep anything on my desktop.
Now you can free yourself. You can start putting stuff there and not have it appear.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of those fanatics that Christian's talking about. I just can't imagine a messy desktop. So
neither can I. So I just sweep it right under the rug.
It's the equivalent of shoving everything under your bed when you're cleaning your room.
That may or may not be a strategy I employ.
All right. So the next big thing after App Library is something that iOS has had in one form or another for a few years now, but it's widgets that can now be put anywhere on any home screen.
Yeah, that's such a. I think ever since like they first got introduced, that seemed like an obvious departure rather than just kind of shoving them off to a side screen. So it's awesome to finally see them be front and center, and you can actually like build your whole home screen around it. Like some of the layouts I've seen people do are like look so much more modern than iOS has lately.
It just feels so Android-y though, because this has been an Android thing for so long. Like I think they even come by default, right, with like a big center widget, maybe weather or something, or the Google widget or something like that.
Like on that first T-Mobile G1 or whatever. But at the same time, like I remember first getting like back in high school, my first Mac, and having that dashboard thing there where you could like, drag and drop them around and have everything there. So like I totally see that, but it feels like old school Mackie almost more to me because I don't use Android. So it's a toss up.
That's something that people don't talk about very much. Actually, Apple invented widgets. Dashboard was the first place that widgets came to be, and soon copied by Windows as gadgets in Windows Vista. And then
I remember that too. Yeah. And then they just kind of disappeared for 10 years until. Well, I guess Android added them there, but they disappeared from Apple's world for quite a while.
I actually sold a Windows Vista gadget for a while. This is taking me back. I made one that would like search your Outlook contacts, and people would pay me money for it. It's going back a long way now.
Huh. Oh my gosh, no, that sounds pretty handy back in the day at least.
Yeah, sure.
How would you distribute a gadget? Was there a gadget store?
No, I just had like a one-page site with a PayPal button. That was what it was. The widgets, though, these new widgets that we've got in iOS 14, what they gain in visibility, I think they're going to lose a bit in functionality, because things like, they're not going to be as interactive, right, as iOS 13 and prior. There's not going to be any like calculator widget or anything like that where you can actually like tap on buttons and do stuff in it.
Because tapping into it jumps you right into an app.
Yeah. So
I was watching it like.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, MKBHD, I think, just put out a video like an hour or so ago where he was talking about iOS 14 and how cool it looked and how he was looking forward to, like, a Tesla widget for his car so he could, like, unlock the doors, roll up the windows with just a tap. And I'm like, I don't think it works like that. It'll, maybe jump you into the app where you can do that, or it'll forward the action, but you won't just be able to, like, tap a button and then swipe over to the next app. So it's curious. I wonder if that's, like, something they're going to hold through all the way to the public release, because it does sound a little short-sighted.
Yeah, and does the original what do you call it? Today View still exists, David, since you're running the beta, where you can have interactive widgets, or is that just gone now?
So it does still exist. The only widget I have on there is one I had before I updated, and I don't have the ability to remove that or add any others now. So it seems like it's kind of buggy right now.
Or you're just stuck that way forever.
Right, so I'll have to wait and see. Right now, only widgets you can mess with are Apple's. You can't use any third-party ones.
Right.
So maybe that functionality will still exist, and we just have to wait for people to implement it.
Yeah, it's very curious. But I'm super looking forward to doing one for Apollo. Like, it seems, for whatever reason, it just never really appealed to me too much when you kind of had to shove it off to a different page. But having like a top subreddit or something, like being able to pin the Apple subreddit and see the top posts on it at your home screen at any time, or like a quick jump into any subreddit launcher kind of thing would be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to actually playing around with that.
I'll definitely use that. So yes, please.
Yeah, no, it looks fun, and you have to do everything in like Swift UI now, which I haven't really played with yet. So it's kind of an exciting kick in the pants to get going.
You can smart stack the widgets as well, or rather, there is a smart stack of widgets where it uses like this Siri intelligence to rotate through a number of widgets depending on time of day, location, all those different factors. So you're not stuck with just like the weather at the top of the screen necessarily. You might get the weather in the morning, the calendar a bit later, and then Apollo for the rest of the day, if that's following my habits.
Yeah, no, when all the productivity hours are gone, you can waste the rest of the day.
And something they didn't mention in the keynote, besides the Smart Stack widget, you can stack any widgets you want manually to switch through, so you only take up one widget's worth of space.
That's good to hear.
Right. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, they clearly put a lot of thought into it, because that, they take up quite a bit of room, so you've got to be smart with the whole layering thing. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I had to think really hard. I wanted to put a couple widgets, like a calendar and a weather widget on my main page, and that's 8 apps worth of space if I use the 2 smallest widgets possible. So yeah, you really think about what you care about.
No, yeah, I plunked a few down, and like suddenly, like the apps I was using were like on page 4. They got shifted all the way back because the widgets are so big. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
I saw some widgets that were in the form of 1 across and 2 down. So that sort of thing might work a bit better if they're implemented. I think this one was actually Instagram, so it would show, I think, the likes, comments, and maybe a thumbnail of the last post you made.
That wouldn't be
just
bad.
in the form of 2 apps, to the size of 2 apps vertically.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Something else making its way to the iPhone this year that's been on the iPad for a while is picture-in-picture support.
Right. Which seems so funny to everyone because like the first app that comes to mind is YouTube, and for whatever reason they've just outright refused to do that.
Right.
So I'm hoping, since iOS is so much bigger than iPad OS in terms of users, that they'll be pressured enough to do that, because I think someone was saying they do it on Android already, so it's not like the precedent isn't already there. They're just, I don't know what's going on over there, but it seems like such an obvious one to do, so I really, really hope they do it for YouTube.
You can even do it in YouTube and Safari already. Well, not on iPhone, obviously, but
right.
the iPad already.
Is the Safari YouTube website like usable? I've honestly never even...
Yeah, it's totally usable. Yep. I used it all the time on the iPad OS at least.
Oh, shoot. Maybe I should just switch to that then.
Yeah, for sure.
I do have kind of a workaround I've used on my iPad. It's an application called CornerTube. And so if I'm watching a video in YouTube, I can pull up the share sheet and share it to CornerTube, and it just puts it in the corner of my iPad. I don't know.
No way.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Kind of hacky. I'd really wish Google would just implement it themselves, but it's better than nothing.
You know it's going to be behind YouTube Premium when they do implement it as well, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because I think like on the Android one, I was saying I think they do it that way too, but people were saying like how Apple has that rule. I even got bitten by it where they're like, you can't technically charge for system features.
Right.
We'll see if Google is bigger than the Hey guys and see if they can get that passed.
Yeah.
I did just see that their latest submission got approved.
Oh, like the 1.0.3 or whatever?
That sounds right, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So-
That's the one where they tried like the demo mode or whatever, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's probably a big sigh of relief for those guys.
Yeah, that must be terrifying for a big company to be able to like just stomp you out of existence just on a whim.
Okay, yeah, can't even imagine. Especially considering the launch was going so well at first. Like they got through the App Store and everything, and then they just kind of got the carpet yanked out from under them.
Right.
Eesh.
All right. Well, the next big feature in iOS 14 is a complete overhaul of Siri's design, more compact and out of the way now.
Yeah, are you guys big Siri folk?
I've given up on Siri. Siri's just dead to me.
I feel so bad saying it because there's some like really smart people working on it, and it gets better every year, but I'm kind of the same way. Like for whatever reason in Canada Google keeps giving away those like home mini little puck things. Like just for everything. Like they're like, you have a Spotify account, here's one. You have a YouTube Premium account, here's one. I think I've literally had 4 for free. So we have one literally like in every single room of our apartment. So it's just so easy to use the Google stuff, and it has such a better like batting average than Siri does. Instead of just being like, this is what I found on the web, it'll actually answer me something. So yeah, I've kind of given up on Siri.
When they announced it was going to be like a complete overhaul, I thought maybe they had like some real big, deep news, but it seems to be they've given it the ability to answer a few more questions than before, and the UI is not going to take up the whole screen anymore. But there's no like really low-level revamp of Siri.
Well, it just seems so tricky because it just seems like it's like, I love Apple's privacy policy like more than anything. But it just seems like that's one of the concessions that, you know, Google, like I'm pretty sure when you ask like the Google Home Mini something, from what I can tell, it just kind of reads off the first Google search result that seems applicable. Like when it has that like little box at the top when you search normally. And it's just, I don't know how Apple is ever going to have that level of information. Like it's not like Google's just going to let them scrape their search results.
Interestingly, the person that invented that little box at the top of Google now works for Apple, so you never know. Might see something like that.
Yeah, but unless like, who are they gonna like? I guess they could go with like DuckDuckGo or something. But it just seems like they're that whole privacy model of like, we wanted to keep everything on device and local and collect as little information as possible from people is phenomenal, and I love it. But it just seems like that is the complete antithesis of these hyper specialized search engines, and it just seems like Google's gonna crush them there. Like I guess I'd love to see Siri like rival it. I just don't see any way out.
I will say, as someone who is still a believer in Siri, I've got HomePods around my house. All of my smart home devices are HomeKit specifically to work with Siri. So for most of my day-to-day uses, she's completely adequate. And maybe it's because I've used Siri for so long, but I don't usually think to ask general knowledge questions to Siri. And maybe if I was using Google, I would. But
see, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think it probably comes down to how you use it too. Like I bet if I had more HomeKit stuff, like Siri would absolutely nail it at the park. But like for whatever reason, like I literally only interact with voice assistants for like trivia questions. I'll be like, you know, where does Padok wood come from? And Google will be like, oh, that's from Southern Africa. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've been wondering that.
Important questions.
Yeah, and like Siri will be like, this is what I found on the web. Open your iPhone to, you know, see more.
Right.
And it's like, I was thinking about almost writing a blog post of just the trivia questions, and it literally seems like for every 30 I ask Google, Siri will get one. But I guess it's probably naive to think everybody's using Siri as like a trivia machine.
My one complaint about this Siri redesign is it seems really superficial. Like the small Siri bubble that pops up at the bottom and the answers that come in at the top, even though they're not taking up your whole screen, it does completely prevent you from interacting with your phone. Because should you try to continue scrolling on a page while Siri's populating an answer, you still dismiss Siri the moment you tap on the screen.
Yeah, that's so weird. I saw somebody complain about that on Twitter. I think it was Quinn Nelson, who has the Snazzy Labs YouTube channel, and an Apple engineer was like, this is beta 1. Which, you know, you could take to interpret anything, but I'm hoping that means they'll reconsider that design.
Oh, very nice.
Because, yeah, I don't know what the dismiss method would be then. Maybe you can add like a little X icon to the modal alert, but I totally agree. It would be nice to be able to, you know, reference something while you're scrolling through Twitter.
Well, if those results came in more like just a standard notification, you could always swipe up and dismiss them.
True. Yeah, no, that would be an easy one too.
Speaking of small UI changes, the phone, when an incoming call comes in, it's no longer taking up the whole screen. It's going to be a little notification along the top. Glad to see that finally.
So nice. Agreed. Are there any notifications now that take up the full screen? Like I think FaceTime does that too, so I don't think anything anymore is that big pain in the ass.
Yeah, I think they're the last holdouts.
That's awesome. No, I'm very happy to see that. I'm curious, I saw you can swipe up to dismiss the phone call, and I'm always curious if that like does an instant hang up, or like in a perfect world
they didn't specify.
Yeah, I kind of like to do the like more covert let it go to voicemail, whereas if somebody calls and I'm busy and I just swipe it up immediately, they're kind of like, hey, screw you, guy. Whereas if it goes to voicemail,
I'm a big fan of volume down just to mute the ringer and then
wait
it out.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if it does that for you, or if it does the I wish I had the gusto to just instantly hang up on someone.
All right. The next big feature is a new app in iOS 14, the Translate app for facilitating interlanguage communication.
Yeah, that one was crazy cool. Because like with Google, you have to like connect to the internet and everything. And as far as I know, you can do this with like, in airplane mode,
right?
Which is just nuts, because I think I was talking to my sister about it, and she's like, oh gosh, is this like, a 3 gigabyte download or something that's going to take up all my phone storage? And I'm like, I don't think so. Like they're doing some machine learning wizardry that, 10 years ago, you'd need to have a database the size of the moon to,
right? Yeah.
Compute Spanish to Chinese to Japanese to French to English that's just crazy.
I feel like this app is more of a way for them to show off. I don't think they went into this Translate functionality thinking we need an app to facilitate communication, because they also built in translation to Safari to dynamically translate websites. And I think maybe this is an application of that same technology. And I'm really hoping they expand it a lot farther than that to, this seems very Apple-y, have the augmented reality, point your camera at something and it changes it in real time, like what is that? Google's Translate solution does that.
That seems like a really obvious one now that you mention it.
Something that Apple Glass could really use.
Ooh. Well, eventually, I'm sure. It just seems like, in terms of like applications, it seems really weird to me too that they don't have any developer API, hopefully yet, for it. Like they have like this really crazy cool natural language framework that I've used a few times, where you can put in like a Reddit comment, and it'll be like, pretty sure this is the language it's in. So you can put in one from like r/Montreal, and it'll be like, oh, this is a French comment, definitely, or this is an English one. And they've been able to do that, I think, since iOS 12. So I was assuming they would expand that to allow you to put in, a string similar to the Translate app and have it spit out the translation, but there's like absolutely nothing user facing, because I wanted to add that into Apollo, where you could like, be like, what's this comment mean? And I was just kind of doing it through Google Translate, and their APIs are really expensive, so you kind of have to throw up the web sheet, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. But yeah, you look through the docs and there's like nothing.
I have a theory about that.
Ooh.
I wonder if they didn't have any developer APIs available for this because they're anticipating adding a system-level translate feature.
Oh, interesting.
Where developers don't need to offer, different language to their apps. The iOS itself can translate it for you if there's not one available in your language.
Okay, so it kind of like scans the text on the current screen and is like,
right, you
want to translate this? That's interesting. That would be pretty cool. Because I think Google had something. Wasn't that like one of those things that Google? I can never remember all the stuff they ship. Like they had like a Google Glass thing that would analyze the text on the screen and let you like search products for it or something.
It's hard to keep track of all the things Google makes and kills.
No, it's like you watch I/O every year, and it's like it's a lot to take in.
Now, the Translate feature in Safari, this is jumping ahead a bit, but that's getting rid of one of the main reasons that I actually opened Google Chrome on my computer. So it's good to see that's coming, but I am a little bit skeptical about how accurate it's going to be, considering the Google Translate system, or
that's
what
true.
do you call it, has like an entire community around it as well. Like you can submit suggestions, improve translations, and this is something that's existed for years and years now, so you can just imagine how accurate it is when it's constantly getting feedback. So I wonder where Apple's system or translations are coming from, and how good they're going to be in comparison.
Yeah, and if, like you said, there's any mechanism to update them, it'll be curious.
That's the real question, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter if they're super fast and all on device if the translations are all trash.
Yeah, that's true too. I might end up having to ship the Google thing anyway. So we'll see. But I thought it was even cool with the Google stuff. Like they even have like these like approved translations now. So they'll be like, oh, this phrase you entered, like we're actually sure this is the translation. Like it's been vetted by humans.
Oh wow.
So yeah, no, and it's for a bunch of popular phrases. So it's pretty cool what they're doing over there. It'll be a lot to see if Apple can keep up with that.
If it's anything like Maps, they'll get close to it in like 5 years.
Which is impressive that they've even been able to do that, considering the state it was at the beginning.
Yeah, they've put a lot of work into Maps in the last few years.
Yeah, like these last two WWDC, like some of the stuff they've added, I was like, holy crap.
Speaking of not opening Google products, one of my main reasons for opening Google Maps is to get cycling directions, and that's coming to Apple Maps now. So, but only to select cities, unfortunately, for now.
Right.
I'm hoping they, I don't know, are just using this small sample of cities. I think there was 3 in North America and 2 in China. As just like a data collection, and then it just magically appears for the rest of the cities.
Yeah, it's a good question. It must be a pain to like put all that data together, though.
Yeah, but yeah, Google's done it, but that's just the way of Google, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah, Google probably just threw like a $10 billion at it and a bunch of people to run across the globe. I'm curious if Apple. I mean, not like Apple's a poor company. I guess they could do the same thing.
Apple needs Street View bikes. That's the next invention.
I was going to say, they don't even have Street View of anything outside big cities, even in the US yet. So I really doubt they're going to get people on bike trails anytime soon.
True.
Yeah. It's like a decade behind Google, really.
Yeah, and it just like with all that money they have, you think that would just be something they'd just throw gobs of money at and get it solved, because it doesn't seem like something you need like Google levels of data collection to solve. It's kind of just like a people on the floor kind of situation.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is actually having people driving and walking all these paths, and how much of it is like machine learning, analyzing satellite images, and being able to better optimize what is and isn't roads.
Exactly. For Google to have cycling directions just everywhere, it must be some sort of algorithm that works it out, as opposed to someone riding around on a bike and recording every route.
You would think, but gosh, it scares me so much with like, at the beginning of Apple Maps, how people would be like, I asked for directions to work and I ended up in the mountains somewhere. Like, you think you would like, there'd be so much human vetting at least of the machine learning data.
Right.
Especially on a bike, like you get caught in the middle of a highway, like that could be, super dangerous.
Well, not if you're James and you have a motorized bike.
Oh.
I'd hardly call it motorized, and we're talking electric. Like a top speed of 25 k's an hour. So I don't know.
It's one of those
like
e-bikes, right?
Sorry.
It's like one of the e-bikes with the batteries and everything. Like
yeah, that's right.
Assist. Yeah. Nice. That's pretty cool. I've seen a few of those around. I've got one of like the electric skateboard things, so we're in the same ballpark.
Except you're far cooler than I am.
I don't know. I think you can go faster, and yours is more practical.
Yeah, I'm often carrying a toddler around on it as well. So I tossed up the idea of a skateboard, but the safety factor kind of threw me off.
Yeah, that's fair. I've lost a few chunks of my body on the skateboards. Definitely wouldn't want to.
Well, that's confirmed.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't want to babe.
I don't lose any chunks of toddler.
No, we went on a gravel road once, and it gets a little wobbly.
All right, and Apple added a bunch of message enhancements this year. Starting with pinning conversations to the top of your message threads.
Right, that's for me. Like it seems like I message like the same 5 people and over again. So it'll be curious to see how useful that is. But for a lot of people, I'm sure that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got a couple people I text regularly, and then everything else is one-offs.
Right. Yeah, it's like those 2-factor authentication codes.
And my real problem is, for some of these other features, I don't know enough people that actually use iMessage to take advantage of all these group chat features.
Yeah. See, like, the group chat stuff's tricky. Like, I have a group chat with my family, but like for like actual friend groups, we have such like a like I'd say like 90% of us are iPhones, but if you have like one or two people, it just completely, the idea is gone.
Right.
So it gets tricky. I think most of us are on like Facebook Messenger, which is, gross to say, but it actually works pretty well.
Yeah, and as soon as you have one person in your group thread that doesn't use an iPhone, it ruins it for everyone. So
yeah, I think I was reading an article that like in the US there's actually like a ton of bullying around that, where you're that like green bubble kid and you get ostracized from your friends, which is Jesus. Yeah, kids are rough.
Wow, yeah, they sure are.
I must have grown up just on the other side of that, because we definitely didn't have that here. But I can imagine it, because here in the US we still so heavily rely on SMS for communication. It's either SMS or iMessage, or that's about it. We don't use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger very often. So
Really? So you guys still like SMS on the regular?
Right. Yeah. So
Wow.
everyone likes iMessage because it's built in and it's convenient. But still, if you're not on iMessage, you're pretty much guaranteed you're SMSing with someone.
How do you do group
Interesting.
chats then with SMS? Does that work? Is that a thing?
Group chats work through MMS.
Oh, okay.
So
It's like SMS is slightly better looking sibling.
right, that's the one that you can send little photos and videos through too, but they're very low res.
Right. Gosh, that's rough. Yeah, I guess WhatsApp and everything hasn't hit as hard as it has in the other parts of the world.
Yeah, surprisingly. So, but yeah, I guess I could understand why you'd get bullied for that if you're the one person messing up all your friends' group chat.
So the green bubble keeps coming through over and over again.
Right.
Also coming to messages, inline replies. I didn't really understand the UI when they demoed it, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that actually works. And also mentions, so you can kind of at a person in iMessage now, and a receiving person can configure only to get notifications when they're atted, which is
Yeah,
nice.
that's pretty nice. Yeah.
I'm not sure if my like mum and dad will figure it out, but for the rest of us,
Yeah, for the people who will use it, it's definitely a nice thing to have.
Yeah, their inline reply demo wasn't very good, was it? Because the replies that they were showing inline were just the next two messages in the group chat. So it didn't really give you a good sense of what that looked like.
But no, I agree. It's really handy though when you're more like 10 messages up and you wanted to mention something from earlier.
Right. Again, not very useful for me, but I can dream of a day where everyone I know is on iPhone, and then I can really get some utility out of it.
we three can start a group iMessage chat if you want, David. You can
Guinea pig us a little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
So there'll be me on iOS 14, Christian's on 13, and James is on 7, and we can really give it a shot.
Yeah, James is basically going to be like almost like a green bubble. I don't even know if he gets any of the iMessage features.
I get the like when someone taps back, however you say it, it comes up as the like blah blah liked blah blah blah. So yeah.
Hey, it still does that on Mac, doesn't it? At least as of Catalina.
Yep, it still does.
No, what? No way.
Yeah.
Well, at least
Well,
like
for me,
sending
I
message
get
effects
tapbacks.
does.
Yeah, message
maybe.
effects. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that's it. But I'm sure with this new Big Sur update, it seems like they're pretty feature parodied.
I think we're gonna have to push on a little bit faster than we're going if we want to get to like Apple Silicon down the bottom there. What do you reckon?
We can't skip over Christian's most exciting topic about EV routing.
Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, no, I mean the EV routing stuff must be exciting for that whole center of Australia there that you guys. I think you make it.
But now you're going to
all the
know
time.
where you can plug in your skateboard.
That's true.
Look, I have to share something with you guys. There's only one paved road across Australia.
Really?
Yep.
Like a main highway, you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I guess that makes sense though.
So you don't really need
like
the routing.
Is it like what you call it, Iceland, where they have the ring round or whatever, where it just you have this one road that goes around the entire circumference of the country?
Nah, you'd have to change highways if you wanted to like go north and then come back west or whichever way you're going. So no, it's not really a ring road. But the Nullarbor is the road through kind of the bottom, across the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. I don't even know if it's got EV charging stations, actually. It didn't last time I went. That's a few years ago now.
Yeah, no, I think our province didn't have any in Canada here, but they've slowly been adding them. But I thought it was pretty funny that they had the EV routing slide, and they were like, we have BMW and Ford, and I was like, oh right, they make EVs, don't they? Like, what about Tesla?
Right. Tesla's already got EV routing, so that's probably why I didn't get a mention. Also, it doesn't have
I guess,
CarPlay.
yeah. True. So, yeah, I guess that was why, but it was just hilarious to be mentioning like the very piddly market share I'd imagine, because I didn't even realize either of those made EVs.
No, I couldn't name the model at all.
No, like Ford. Oh, I guess they've got that Mustang or whatever.
Yeah, the electric
coming out.
Mustang.
But that's not even out yet.
Right.
Is it?
It's not
I
out.
don't
The
think-
Mach-E.
Right. And I think BMW had that like super cool hybrid supercar thing there, but I think it only got like 20 kilometers on a battery, so I don't think you'd be going between too many EV routing stations anyway. So
Right. All right. Well, before we jump off of iOS, if we're going to hurry up a bit, app clips is probably the last big thing to really mention here.
yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll be curious to see how like that doesn't apply to Apollo at all. It seems more like stores that are like hardware based, but I could
Right.
see that becoming like the next like big thing that pisses off every Android user in the world where they don't have that, but I could see it getting really big.
Actually, Android has had that for a few years, but
Really? But is it like widely used? Like I've never seen.
probably
It's
not.
No.
No. Well, maybe then if the iOS one gets heavily used, they'll just pony up the Android one too. But yeah, I've honestly never even seen the Android one around anywhere.
So there's a lot of promise in app clips, like you just walk up to a parking meter instead of installing an app and signing up and entering your credit card details, and then like 10 minutes have passed, you can just tap the NFC chip. But like
Right.
parking meters are like the last companies to implement anything really. So
Oh my God, the ones here are so bad. Like you need to pay a monthly subscription to use them, and then you have to pay the parking fee on top of it. It's,
wow.
They literally make no sense. So yeah, no, I'm completely with you. Like we'll get, it'll be curious to see who adopts them, because I could see it being some, 10 years from now when people finally play catch up.
I'm pretty excited about this. I've got quite a few. I have a whole folder of apps just for the different electric bike and scooter and parking and whatever rental companies for every big
right.
city around me. So, and having to remember
That's
which
true.
app to use for which city and everything else, it'd be nice just to walk up and tap it, and it just works.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of those, like at WWDC last year, they had like the Bird and Lime scooters and everything, like stuff like that. Like you mentioned, for the transit stuff will be like, I hope to God they start adopting it, because that would be so nice.
All right, well, let's jump on to, there's only a couple big features in iPadOS, so we should be able to get through this pretty quickly. And the first one you have here is just sidebars, which I guess is kind of referring to the whole like operating system level enhancement of all the apps, where they all have this left nav bar on the side now, kind of Mac OS reminiscent.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's so little that's happened to iPadOS that this is actually a tentpole feature of iPadOS 14.
I'd love to explain that to my parents. Like people are so excited about this list on the left side of the screen. But
Look,
I mean,
a
it is
sidebar
nice.
is a proven feature. It's proven to be loved and useful. So
Hey.
I'm glad to see it. Although
You're right.
the one demo I wasn't a huge fan of, because they showed the sidebar in photos and then someone dragging a photo, and they couldn't even drop the photo on the sidebar. They had to like hold it there on the list item and wait for it to open that and then drag it into the actual content view. So it wasn't the best demo in my opinion, but I'm still happy to see
It's a little
come,
wacky.
because like I'm a pretty heavy user of photos, and just like the way the albums have been since like iOS, iPad 3, I guess, have been just like a bunch of squares that are never organized nicely.
Right, and did they have like a tab bar at the bottom or anything before? I
A
can't
tab
even
bar
remember
to
what
get
the
to
old-
like your album view, but then it's just a bunch of thumbnails
mess,
after
yeah.
that.
Right. No, that's awesome then. It'll be curious to see if more devs leverage the almost Mac style sidebar stuff.
Well, I know you've been dabbling with an iPad version of Apollo. Is this going to change your approach to that in the future?
It could. Like, I do like sticking with like iOS consistent UI. So it is nice in that aspect, but I was thinking in a slightly different direction in terms of where I was going to put like that kind of stuff, but we'll see. I haven't completely decided there, so I might as I use iPadOS over the summer with the sidebar stuff, I might waffle a little and decide to go back.
And just thinking back to the first time we had you on the show was a year and a half ago now. At that point, you said that you'd been working on the iPad version of Apollo. So
it's coming, man.
It's coming.
No, you're totally right. God, when you say it like that, it's been tricky. Like like in a perfect world, like if I had nothing else to do, I could probably sit it down, give me 3 months, and I could probably bang most of it out. But it's so tricky when people are like, not you guys specifically, but people will be like, oh, where's that iPad update? And I'll be like, you guys were screaming just as loud for like cross-post support and like a new video player and like all these other things that got even more screaming than the iPad app, because the iPad app's great, but it's not going to help, iPhone only users, for instance. But like something like cross-post support, which I just finished working on, like that'll help everybody. So those have kind of got a little bit more priority, but like in terms of like big tentpole Reddit features that Apollo's missing, like there really shouldn't be that many after this update. So it's kind of going to be like, pencils down iPad update time. So I'm feeling very good about it being done in the near future.
And I understand it's probably pretty hard to prioritize when Apollo already works pretty well on the iPad as is.
Yeah, it's definitely functional there. So it's not like it's like other features that are just completely missing. No, I totally hear you.
And the next major update for iPadOS, something that excited me quite a bit, iPad finally got the features that the Newton had 25 years ago. That's pretty,
the scribble stuff's pretty exciting. Like, you can use it in pretty much any text field from what I saw, which is pretty cool. So I'll be curious. And I liked that they have, in addition to it, like I don't know if it's just the base handwriting recognition stuff, but you can like write normally and then convert it after the fact.
Right.
So they, it seems like they really went the whole 9 yards with it. Hopefully you can it'd be really cool if you could search it with like, maybe it's always been there, but it'd be cool if you could search it with like OCR.
The searching has actually been there for, I think, at least the last version or two. But it does seem to be much better now, because I have awful handwriting, and previously it had a hard time understanding what I'm doing, but now it was perfect translation every time.
Huh, okay.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome then. I almost wonder if they, how they did that. Did they just have a bunch of people with shoddy handwriting manually transcribe it into a machine learning thing?
I mean,
that's all through the Notes app though, right?
So that most of that is in the Notes app, yes. But anywhere there's a text field across the OS, you can just write on it and it'll translate to text.
That's nuts. That's so cool.
And it's pretty smart too. I opened up a long, just plain text document, and wherever I wrote on the text document, it would insert text like right there where I was writing. So,
my gosh, no, that will be. If you have like something to message somebody, it'll feel so much more heartfelt if you can manually write it up by hand and have to transcribe.
The other person will never know though, right?
No, true. That's true. But even starting a message, like just in terms of getting the point across, being like, "Dearest James," penning out something really intense would be.
Warmest regards. Why don't
Yeah,
you draw
just
like
feel a
a
little more
kissing
real.
emoji at the end?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, emoji transcription. That would be, I don't know, that sounds like an iOS 15 thing.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, iMessage has supported sending your handwriting to someone since iOS 10.
That's
true. You have to
true.
open that like sheet sort of interface, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was that one version where whenever you rotated a landscape, it would force you to do it.
Right.
No, I forgot. I've completely erased that from my memory. It was so hard to deal with. That still exists, though, eh?
It's still there.
Huh. Okay. I might have to send you guys a nice handwritten note then.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
All right, let's move on here to the new features for AirPods, which I was surprised to hear about at all yesterday.
Right. So I just didn't think of those as like a software product, but I guess everything kind of is nowadays.
Right.
Well, they're such a popular product that maybe Apple is starting to treat them a little bit more seriously. Well, I guess they always have. I mean, they updated the original AirPods with a minor update, and then we got the AirPods Pro. So I guess they are pretty much considered a serious product from Apple. But the first feature is automatic switching, which is actually a feature of the pre-release AirPods, which never made it to production AirPods. So it's cool that it's
What do you mean
back,
by that?
I guess. Like review units that people got sent out actually had automatic switching.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm going crazy, because I felt like hearing that presentation, I was like, I thought they did that, or I thought I heard something about that.
Yeah, a lot of people thought they did do it and that it just didn't work because it was announced originally, and then the pre-release versions had it.
Because right now it'll intelligently know what, or at least it'll make an attempt at knowing what device when you open them to connect to, but it won't switch, I assume, because like I can open them and it'll connect to my Mac, I'm pretty sure.
Mine have got none of that. Mine's like 100% manual. I never even see the little connect glyph type thing that's supposed to pop up.
See, because I thought that was like the whole appeal of AirPods, was like the seamless jumping between all your iOS devices, but I guess I've been the schmuck the whole time. Well, I guess it's good to have it then.
I'm going to wait and see, because I can imagine scenarios where I'm listening to like a podcast on my phone, and then I get on my computer to do something, and I do not want it to switch to my computer in that case.
True. That's true.
I have a strong feeling I'm going to disable it, but we'll wait and see.
It'll have to be really smart.
Yeah, well, they already do like something similar with Siri, don't they? How if you've got like, you know, a pile of iPhones and iPads like across the house, it'll try to intelligently they'll communicate amongst each other when you say the Siri command to try to figure out which one to light up.
If that's a measure of how it's going to work, then it's not going to work at all, because my HomePod will pick up any whisper of Yo Siri, regardless of what device I'm trying to talk to. Yeah.
Well, fair enough then. I don't even have a HomePod yet, but no. Now that you mention it, the Siri stuff for the iPhone pile doesn't work too hot either. So you're probably right.
The other big feature for AirPods, this coming to the pros only, is spatial audio with support for 5.1, 7.1, and Dolby Atmos.
Interesting. See, like, I love my pros, but I've never been that blown away by the audio quality. So I'll be curious to see how good that is. Like, I guess it would be kind of cool to watch like a Netflix film and have it on the airplane and have like Dolby Atmos going, like helicopters flying over you and everything. But I guess I've thought of them more like a really nice mobile set of headphones with the noise cancellation, but I've never really been like, this is the, you know, best way to listen to music. So, right. But I mean, it's nice to have.
Seems like such a complicated feature to implement. So it's using the accelerometers. If you turn your head, it maintains like the field of audio around you based on how you turn your head, how you move the iPad, and even if you're in a vehicle that turns, it'll like keep the audio in the right direction. So if something's coming from the front right, then it stays at the front right regardless of what you do. Imagine the complexity in engineering something like that.
See, that makes me really wish they'd like, since they put that much effort in, they must have like a really crazy pair of headphones in the pipeline. Like you always see those rumors for like over-ear AirPods or something.
Yeah, right.
They're a big competitor to like the all the new Microsoft and Bose and Sony ones. So that, like, it would be really cool to see that applied to like a proper pair of like audiophile quality headphones.
Maybe it even has some sort of Apple Glass type implementation details as well.
That would be cool. Like, you slide a visor down.
The whole time I was watching them describe this very complex and, in my mind, convoluted process of how they're maintaining the relationship between the location of the AirPods and the device you're watching on, I was literally yelling at the TV, "This is what the U1 chip was designed for. Why are you engineering for this?" So in my mind, these AirPod Studios have to have a U1 chip in them. That just has to be a given.
Yeah, now that you mention it, isn't that exactly what that was for? Maybe they all work in tandem to just create like a more cohesive, a better field of data to figure that out.
Right.
But sign me up for a pair of AirPods Studio if this spatial audio stuff works as well as it is. That sounds really cool.
I'm not a huge fan of in-ear headphones, so I haven't actually invested in the pros yet. But if this spatial audio ends up being pretty good, it might be enough to finally push me over the edge.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I kind of feel it's definitely not that comfortable after a few hours. Like, I don't think they're any fault of Apple. Just having stuff shoved in your ears isn't. But
right.
I'd definitely be looking forward to an over-ear pair.
All right, and the last little update to AirPods firmware is some optimized charging, kind of similar to what they've been doing on the Apple Watch for the last couple of years.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah, see, that's another feature that I thought they had, but that's awesome then.
So they'll charge to 80% when they don't think they're going to be used or something like that. I don't know if that's going to work for me because my AirPod charging certainly has no routine. But maybe I need to develop one, like plug them all in at the end of the day and then it'll charge to 80% overnight and then 100 by 7 a.m. or whenever it detects that I'm or expects me to start using them.
Yeah, and I mean, I only really ever use mine. I guess it's COVID related, but I only ever use them around the house. So it's not like I'm ever really low on battery life anyway. So I wouldn't mind it just sticking to 80% permanently.
Yeah, whatever they can do to extend the battery life of these little tiny batteries in the AirPods is definitely going to be appreciated.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories. Like, thankfully, you know, I don't use mine enough that I've encountered that yet, but it seems pretty rough eventually.
I'm already on my second pair.
Through battery life issues?
Right.
Yeah, me too. My my right AirPod on the original pair, I used it so often for phone calls that it just killed the battery on that. And in the end, I could get like 15 minutes listening time and like 30 seconds microphone time on that right AirPod.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's great. And so I assume once they're kaput, like Apple's not sympathetic, they're just like, get a new one?
Yeah, basically.
Yikes.
All right, well, let's move on to watchOS. We got quite a bit to get through here before you got to get to bed.
25 minutes. Let's do it.
Oh, I can. I can go a little longer if need be, but just generally.
Well, there's not a lot to talk about in watchOS 7, so this will be a quick one, hopefully.
For sure.
So the first feature of watchOS is the ability to have multiple complications from the same app on a watch face.
See, yeah, that's one that, like, you can tell how much I use my Apple Watch. That seemed like I guess that's the theme for me today. I was like, I thought they had that.
Right.
That seems crazy to me that one app would be restricted to one, but I guess that's a nice one to have now that you can have, you know, one app show you a whole bunch of different stuff.
Well, it kind of was the case that apps could have multiple complications. It was just kind of complicated for them to implement. And like Apple's native apps did, because you could have like the temperature and the wind as two separate complications.
Right. Okay, so I guess as long as it's easier for developers, hopefully more will do it then. But I think I don't use it very often, and I'm pretty sure looking at it, it's a Series 1, so I'm pretty sure I'm not even getting this update.
No, I don't think you are. I think 0 and 1 are out.
Yeah, I think I bought it on Craigslist or whatever because I wanted to debug like the Apollo notifications as they came in. Because I had like the rich UI and I wanted to see if it rendered on Apple Watch well, and it did, and I don't think I've used it since.
Even the Series 2 is not getting this update.
Oh, no way. So you got to go right to 3.
I'm only one watch ahead of the curve then.
You're on 3?
Yeah.
What's the one that got do you have to go all the way to 5 for like the new fancy rounded design?
That's the Series 4.
4, okay.
5 has the always on display.
I kind of want that.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, see, I think I'll have to pony up for the 5. When do they normally update them? Like around same
It's alongside
iPhone
the
time?
iPhone, yeah.
Okay. Maybe
I'm thinking we might see a thinner watch coming September or October, whenever it comes this year, because Force Touch is no longer part of the operating system as of this release of watchOS, at least.
Oh, right. So they can get rid of that hardware.
Yeah, maybe if that hardware's gone, we'll see an overall thinner watch, which I would look forward to.
No, they're a little chunky, aren't they?
This seems crazy to me because Force Touch was implemented alongside the original Apple Watch, specifically because the screens were too small to have a bunch of buttons. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see how they're going to fix that.
Yeah, they really hammered that home originally, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an undiscoverable feature. That's the problem. They probably looked at their analytics and saw like no one uses it. So they've slowly moved all the important functions out of Force Touch, and there wasn't a whole lot left anyway.
That's basically exactly what I've learned, even with Apollo, is like if something isn't super obviously there, people will have no idea it is. Like I've had so many people like message me and be like, oh, it would be really cool if you had like custom gesture support in Apollo or like gesture settings. And I'm like, I literally have a settings tab, and one of the first items are gestures. and they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't see that," and it's like, totally fine, whatever. But it's just as so many things. Like if there was no hope for them to find that,
right.
Randomly force pressing on a watch screen, like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I feel like it's at least once a week I see on the Apollo subreddit someone saying, "I wish there was a way that I could jump back down the page to where I was when I accidentally scroll up."
Yep,
There is.
Speaking of, yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, you can just tap the status bar a second time.
Thank you.
No, see, that's another one that maybe I should add like a little pop up for that, or a little baby one. But see, that's something I would have thought Apple would have added with iOS 14. It seems like such an obvious one given how much it like comes up on the subreddit.
You just want them to rip you off?
No, there's so many things that like little things I've done lately that I'm like, it would be really great if they did.
Like multi-photo select?
Yeah, that's a really nice one. I'm so glad they did, because not only is it like you can like, it's not even that I had to build the custom UI, which it was a bit of a pain, but it's like from a security standpoint, like in order to show all those photos, you have to give the app access to every single photo, where with the Apple one, you can kind of just say like, bring up the Apple one. It's, sandboxed off into a separate process. So the app has no idea what the user's looking at. The user selects 3 photos, and then just those 3 photos go into the app, which is so much nicer, because I don't have to worry about like user privacy as much, and like having to see all of their photos potentially. The user's not as freaked out. Like it's so nice, and I've wanted to add that for so long. But with the normal UI, you have to like hit 1 photo, done, 2nd photo, done, 3rd photo, done, and it takes like forever to upload an album. So it was just kind of out. But now we're good to go.
One less permission Apollo can request from the user, at least.
Exactly. Yeah,
while at the same time spamming the user's clipboard.
Apparently, yeah. So we'll have to see what, one step forward, one step back, how it goes.
Do you think you're going to end up removing that feature?
No, I can't imagine. At the very least, like the worst I would do would be just make it optional, and you'd have to like turn it on. But I think there's like an Apple engineer DM'd me and was like mentioning a few ways you can like check if there's a URL like exists on the keyboard without prompting that. Like you can just be like, hey, I don't care what the URL is there a URL period, and that won't prompt them. So you can at least like, if you copy a recipe, I won't be like, hey, let me check that for a URL and scare the user, which is nice. But it's still kind of a pain, because like if you have a New York Times article on your clipboard, Apollo will like, a banner will come up that Apollo check that to see if it was a right URL, which is, in the long term though, that like, I'm really glad it's there, just because the whole clipboard thing was like a privacy nightmare originally.
Right. Yeah. I kind of wish that it was give you even more control and let you grant clipboard access on an application by application basis.
Yeah. I'm curious why they didn't. I just wondered if that would like add too much friction between like copy and pasting between apps, where they didn't want like the Catalina style permissions hell.
Right.
I think that's exactly it. We've got like enough security pop-ups as it is. It's adding one more for this small thing, or small in quotes, is maybe one too many.
But it is crazy though. You could have like the most compromising photo on your clipboard, and like you can just jump into a random app for a second, and it'll be like yank, upload it to some server somewhere, and you'll be none the wiser. Like literally no feedback that happened. So it's weird to me that they can still do that in iOS 14. It'll just be like, hey, maybe they did. And like, but it's too late at that point. I mean, you can delete the app, but the damage is already done. So like, I guess I can see both sides of the equation. It would add a lot of friction, but those are some pretty secure items that they could be intercepting.
Probably the biggest new feature on watchOS is the implementation of sleep tracking, which I was surprised to see as a software update and not a new feature of like Apple Watch Series 6.
Huh. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I guess that would be hard to like explain away. Like, what new hardware would they be adding to justify that? I assume like the gyroscope. And that's true. But I mean, you still have to charge it anyway. And like, I'm always amazed at how fast the thing charges up. Like you can hop into a shower and come out and it's pretty much good to go.
Right. Which I think will end up being probably my new routine, because I do want to give this sleep tracking a try. So yeah, I'll probably put it on the charger for 30 minutes in the morning, and that'll just be it.
Does it do that thing where it tries to like wake you up at the opportune time or whatever? Or is it just like wake you up at 7 a.m.? Because I remember there was like those apps for a while on the iPhone that were all trendy, where you'd like put your phone on your bed and it would figure out when you were most restless and about ready to wake up, and it would wake you up then rather than when you were like dead still in a deep sleep.
That would be the smart thing to do. I didn't hear them mention anything to that effect. It seemed to work mostly like the bedtime setting on the iPhone now.
Oh, okay. So it would just wake you up normally.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah, I just did a quick search. I can't see anything on like the smart wake up like that used to exist on certain iPhone apps, which is kind of cool, unfortunately. So yeah,
well,
it
like,
looks
for
just
all
like,
I know, that was complete medical mumbo jumbo. Like maybe Apple ran like a study and was like, "There's
no, it's not. No, it's legit for sure."
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, as you say it, it makes sense that it would be legit, but yeah, I have no clue, but I'll take your word for it. It's certainly, the few times I used it, I was like, yeah, this makes sense, but I didn't know if it was because I paid $2 for the app and wanted to justify it or not.
Some sort of confirmation bias.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, I guess the theory was legit, but whether the iPhone was actually capable of sensing movement enough, like sensitive enough to determine if you're in REM sleep or if you're ready to wake up, I don't know if that was real. Especially if you've got someone else in the bed with you too. That can generate some false movement.
Right. But I mean, the Apple Watch, you would think would be pretty damn good at that, given that it's like physically strapped to you.
Yeah, Apple Watch is a prime candidate for it. And the other benefit is that you're not going to don't have to have a loud alarm. You can just have the haptics on your wrist to wake you up at that right time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And I don't know anything about sleep cycles, medically speaking, but if there is potentially some kind of change in pattern for your heart rate between REM and maybe less restful sleep, they can be monitoring that as well.
Oh, interesting.
Ah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they probably have a whole swath of data to look at.
Yeah. I would have argued for face sharing as actually the bigger feature, or maybe equally as big as sleep tracking. So you can configure an Apple Watch face and then share it from within the Watch app to anyone, I guess, really. And when someone else tries to add that face, it's smart enough to say, oh, you don't have X and Y apps, so here's where to get them as well.
See, that seems like such an obvious one to add when they'd add custom watch faces.
Right.
And the whole watch face gallery.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get super excited about that when you still can't change like the actual like whole time aspect of the watch, which is arguably one of the more important parts. But it's still cool, I guess, if you've got a bunch of apps customizing your home screen and you want to make that different. But I wish they would have gone the whole 9 yards.
I think it'll be pretty popular.
Oh, no doubt. It'll
Maybe
probably
like,
drive a lot of great app downloads too for watchOS developers.
Yeah, true. Can't wait for the celebrity faces.
Any day now.
Well, now that you have the ability to easily run multiple complications from the same app, someone needs to make an Apple Watch app that's kind of like a face builder. And so every component is like part of a watch face. And when you put them all on there, it changes the look of your face entirely.
Oh,
There you go. Can you remove the time aspect altogether?
Probably not, no.
Dang.
No, I don't think there's any watch face where you can get rid of it.
Damn it. No, they probably thought of your idea too and were like, let's make sure they don't have that level of control.
Right. All right. And finally, in watchOS 7, they've added a hand washing monitor that will encourage you to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds.
Right. And like it auto detects the motion or something, right?
It's a combination of motion, and when it detects something it thinks is a hand washing motion, it then listens for the sound of running water or soap.
Interesting. I wonder
what
how
does
quick
soap sound like?
Like squishing.
No, make the actual noise, David.
Oh, that's good. That's really
yeah,
good.
No, that was pretty. That was very uncomfortable, but very good.
Should be a Foley artist.
Yeah, no, exactly. Or get one of those ASMR YouTube channels.
I guess I was picturing a bar of soap. That's where I was going wrong. Because they're typically silent.
Is that typically how they do it in Australia? They don't have the pump action yet?
Oh, there are both, but I thought I heard like early virus that a bar of soap's more effective against it.
Interesting. So we went the whole 9 yards and got one of those like you pay an extra $10 on Amazon and they have like the touch sensor, or not touch sensor, the motion sensor, so you can be like the fancy restaurant bathrooms.
Ooh, nice.
And then you don't have to touch because that's what I was like. I was like, man, if I have like COVID and I'm like touching the top of this pump or whatever, isn't it just going to sit there? But yeah, you can just wave your hand under it.
Between that and your fancy pepper mill, you're living in like the year 3000.
No, that's my treat to myself. 2019, I got a pepper mill. 2020, I got the hand washer. I'm really excited to see what 2021 holds.
Me too.
All right. After the watchOS section, they had a brief talk about how focused on privacy they are. But it seemed like the only real big feature, quote unquote, to come out of that was that they changed the recording indicator to be, instead of a red circle around the time, it's now this little dot above your Wi-Fi bars.
Right.
But there, like pre-iOS 14, if the camera was active, there was no recording indicator at all, was there?
I think, yeah, the difference was active versus recording. Because it's definitely, if you're in a FaceTime call or had the camera on at all, actually. If I had the viewfinder for my camera pulled up and I plugged my phone into CarPlay, this is what I noticed it the most. If I accidentally pulled my phone in my pocket and swiped into the camera as I was plugging my phone into CarPlay, I'd get a notification on CarPlay with that little circle around the time saying your camera is active.
Huh, okay.
It must just be more so for the microphone then, how they have the little yellow dot.
Right. It just seems less noticeable to me than the highlighting the time they were using before.
Yeah, that's really weird. I'm curious because it did. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think there's more to the feature than I'm remembering then, because I think before it's not like you could have video running in the background anyway, could you? Like you couldn't.
No, so if you backgrounded something running video, then it would stop the video. But I have seen cases where I think it was maybe Facebook Messenger. You could actually, there's some sort of bug, malicious or not, who's to say with Facebook, you could reveal that the camera was running behind your message list if you dragged it in a certain way.
Okay. So at least within the same app, it'll be more clear.
Yeah.
If they're doing anything nefarious. I'm just excited for everyone's always Facebook's listening in the background so we can see, which sounds like a load of baloney to me. But it'll be good to see there's an indicator. So maybe those people will be a little less scared.
It's funny to me every year. I mean, with every version of iOS, they add one more alert that you get notified when someone's using a system level feature. And a couple years ago, it was maybe iOS 12 or iOS 13. You'd open Facebook. It says Facebook is monitoring your Bluetooth traffic or something else. And this year, it's I opened Facebook with the iOS 14 beta, and it says Facebook wants to listen on your network for other devices, and I don't know what that means.
I got that too.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Is it trying to connect to Wi-Fi networks? I didn't even know there was an API for that.
Right. I wonder if it's some kind of Chromecast-ish functionality. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really weird because I was I played around with the Chromecast SDK, and it was I pretty much axed it just because the whole Bluetooth pop-up thing was creepy. But it seemed like it was just Bluetooth.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. But I've actually gotten that for a few apps, so I'm not sure what it means yet.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt before I start, screaming bloody murder, but it was definitely a creepy pop-up.
Maybe it's a clarification or a rewording of that Bluetooth one.
Oh, could be. They managed to make it 100 times more horrifying.
Yeah, it said on your network. It sounded much more like a Wi-Fi network access thing than a Bluetooth thing.
Maybe it's a catch-all. Interesting, though. I'll be curious to see.
All right. Before we jump into the big hardware changes that were announced this year, macOS went through what feels like a small but also a big update. It got a complete redesign, but besides that, not much.
Besides a complete redesign. They did bill it as the biggest redesign since OS 10, right?
I don't buy that at all.
I didn't buy it either. I mean,
definitely the switch from skeuomorphic to flat was a bigger change than this.
I agree with that. That's exactly what I had in mind.
Did they really flatten macOS that much, though?
Compared to what it was, yeah, they have.
Okay. I have a terrible memory, but I'm just trying to think. I'm looking at the icons in my dock right now. I'm still on Catalina, and they're not particularly flat, at least the extent iOS was. But I guess it definitely did go in that direction quite a bit. You don't have all like the metal and everything anymore, do you?
You need to look back at like Mac OS Mavericks to really see what they looked like before, because there was a big change, bigger than this one.
Enough. Yeah, no, I'm curious how they justified that then.
And it seems very polarizing. There's a lot of people online that either love or hate the new design.
Yeah, I feel like the hardcore Mac people from yesteryear are not gonna like it as much, considering like how much they appreciate the how consistent the Mac UI has been over the years. This is very much bringing it in line with iOS, and I think that's definitely going to rub some people the wrong way.
My first reaction was that they've catalystified everything, and in my books that's a negative thing, because typically when something becomes a Catalyst app, it loses all these features, and then like basic functionality that you expect on a Mac is gone. But I think that's just a gut reaction, and I mean, some things have been catalystified, but things like Finder kind of just looks like it hasn't actually changed significantly in functionality.
Right.
Yeah, I guess they could probably just rework it to look Catalyst-y without actually doing the rewriting in UI kit or whatever. But it definitely looks very different.
My big takeaway, and the thing I'm wondering the most about now, it seems like they really optimized Mac OS for a touch screen. Is if you look at the control center, they got these big sliders now for volume and brightness, and they made a specific point during the keynote to say like we took stuff in the drop down menus and gave them more space, so like bigger touch targets. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to think that.
Yeah, what other operating system did that right before it went touch? Windows 10, I guess, or no, 8.
Windows 8, yeah.
Yeah.
See, my litmus test is always though, like, what do the traffic light symbols look like? Like, they still seem pretty damn close together. Like, there's no way in hell I'd want to pick up my MacBook and touch those tap targets as is. So, like, I don't know. Once I see those go, I think I'll be with you. But for now, it wouldn't surprise me if they just wanted like a consistent design language more than anything. But it definitely like it definitely raises an eyebrow though.
I mean, I think you're right, but man, yeah, it does make you wonder. I was surprised because my gut feeling going into this, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, I was gonna bet anything that the dev transition kit was just going to be a version of macOS that could run on the new iPad Pros.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people theorize that, but I think a lot of people were like, I think the best of the best iPad Pros have 6 gigs of RAM.
Right. Yeah, that's the big
whereas
factor.
Like, yeah, I think even my iPad Pro only has the 4 gigs. I think we were talking about this last year. And yeah, like, man, doing Xcode with 4 gigs, like, unless like, you know, the ARM Macs have some crazy optimization, that would be rough.
I mean, if that's my biggest letdown from this keynote, I was really, really hoping for some, even if it's just a light version of Xcode for the iPad this year.
Yeah, it's like, see, that's one of those things that like I see everybody want, and like it's definitely one of those. Have you seen that Ricky Gervais like bit about the guitar lessons?
I don't believe so.
Look it up. So it's pretty funny. He's basically just saying like, you know, you there's some people who are like they go to a town center and see like a sign with guitar lessons, and they get pissed off that they're like, I don't want guitar lessons, even though it's not necessarily directed at them, and they can just kind of leave. And it feels like that for me. Like I don't like, I like my big monitors so much and my mouse and keyboard that I feel like the point of an iPad Xcode would be completely lost on me, other than maybe the speed. But for so many people, like being able, like just the amount of new developers that would reach, and for people who are so iPad first, like I think it would be really cool.
I think I agree with the gist of that. Xcode is going to be way more comfortable. I've got an iMac and a Mac Pro that I do most of my development on, but my only portable computer is an iPad Pro now. I've ditched my MacBook Pro. So for that reason, that's why I want Xcode, just so I can do a little bit of work on the go. Yeah, no, like I feel like you're right. Like I bet once I got Xcode on the iPad and I played around with it a little bit, I'd probably be like, this isn't so bad. Because I mean, I don't mind it that much on my MacBook versus like, you know, on a 27-inch monitor or something. It's not like
unusably small. So I'm sure it would work. I'm just, man, that like 11 inch or 12 inch or whatever iPad screen just gives me a lot of pause.
Right.
The outlook, I think, is pretty positive for Xcode coming to iPad. I think you're just going to have to wait a year or two, maybe. Especially considering like you can run iOS apps on Macs.
I'll just be curious to see like what Xcode for iPad means, though. Does that mean like we get Homebrew and Ruby and CocoaPods and everything too, or like literally just
because like just the Swift packages? I think that would be enough for at least playing around.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it depends. Do they want to make it like Apple Silicon Mac level where it does everything the previous thing did, or if they just want to make it like this is almost like an MVP, like get it out the door, show what we can do kind of thing? Because yeah, you'd definitely be fine with just like Swift Package Manager, but I have so many CocoaPods.
Right.
Should we blast through the rest of macOS so we can talk about the actual good stuff?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, macOS is also getting the Control Center, so it looks pretty similar to iPadOS Control Center, and also alongside that, the Notification Center is getting widgets. So click on the time, and you get like a not quite so obtrusive Notification Center, I guess you'd say, because it doesn't like slide out a drawer.
That kind of looks like the era of Vista gadgets, doesn't it?
It looks a lot like that, especially since it's on the right hand side.
Just yeah, like that's Vista. Exactly what I thought of the first time I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's Vista right there. But hey, maybe that was like the one shining part of Vista.
I think it's time for you to break out your gadget again, James.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see if I've got any sort of record of it ever existing.
Yeah, log back into that PayPal account. Maybe they've been just still sending donations.
Yeah.
Retire early.
Actually, Vista had to shut down all of their gadgets. It was a few years ago because there was some huge security vulnerability in gadgets. They couldn't patch out of Vista, so they had to shut them all down.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Oh, so is that ended your whole gadget career?
Oh, it ended well before that, I think.
Oh, so you left on top?
Yeah. Got out while it was still good.
Yeah. Retired at the top of your game.
Yeah.
Well, that's smart.
We also got a redesigned photo picker. Now, photo picker before Big Sur is just atrocious. It's just been left behind as Photos has got better and better and changed and evolved, and we're still left with the absolute piece of garbage that is the photo picker of yesteryear. So I'm really glad to see that's finally been updated. It was actually unusable, I would say.
Wait, so what's the photo picker again? Dumb question. That's not like, we're not talking like the file selector.
It's kind of like if you want to browse your photos library within like an open save or insert dialog box, you have like, it adds a new option down the left, like media and something else, videos maybe.
What? Man,
it's very much like the iOS photo picker on macOS now.
It is now, yeah.
It's not like when you're selecting photos from your iPhone, it's like actual photos on your Mac.
Are you talking about what it's becoming or what it was?
Maybe both. I didn't even know this feature existed. You're here telling me how bad it was, and I'm like, I'm living in yesteryear. So I guess I'll get to move right to the good version then, you're saying.
Yeah, imagine if you're in Pages and you go to like insert image, and then it shows you like the, what do you call that sheet where you browse Finder to find a photo. If you wanted to actually browse your photos library, that was like a new option down the list on the left. But that once you clicked on photos, you'd get this horrible view of your photos library where the photos didn't seem to be in any particular format, and it would take like 30 seconds to load.
Oh, is it this photos, music, movies thing?
Yeah, that's the one. You got it.
Oh, I had no idea this existed. Huh. So it's better now, you're saying? It
will be, yeah. In Big Sur.
Okay. I can respect that.
If they don't do some kind of pun on Big Surprise about the ARM transition, I'm going to be very disappointed in Apple.
Well, they didn't. They've missed the boat now, right?
Well, they always got those puns on those, like the main page of their website when they announce stuff.
True.
Ah, yeah, there's still that opportunity.
How do you guys feel about the name in general?
I don't really have an opinion on it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to be really opinionated on it, and I don't really understand where that's coming from.
That's true. I guess no. Like I'm definitely not in that crowd, but I don't think I'm the craziest about it. It's I don't think I'm a big fan of just like the double names, like the Big Sur. Like I kind of like the Catalina and the Sierras, but it's as far as things go. I was really holding out for Sequoia for whatever reason. Such a pretty name. But
Yeah, it's a really nice name, isn't it?
but maybe next year. Big Sur just sounds like such a random name.
So you do you lump High Sierra into that same category then?
Yeah, like it's hard to say because that was that no 2 years ago. Yeah, that it's
Yeah, it's a couple
I've
years
heard
ago.
it enough times now that I think any novelty of it sounding weird is worn off. But
Right.
I feel like if memory serves, when I heard it the first time, I was like, that's kind of a weird name. Like I'm just so used to like Leopard and all like these single like one punch names that.
Well, it's funny you say leopard because High Sierra was definitely the snow leopard, of Sierra.
True.
Mm.
That was a nice one. Yeah, Catalina was a little rough, wasn't it? So I don't know how we'll be thinking they seem like they changed enough stuff in this update that I'll be curious to see how much time they had to work on bugs, but fingers crossed.
Well, one of the big things that James is hoping for in Big Sur, we got a whole message app redesigned using Catalyst.
Right. So now we'll
Long
get
overdue.
finally some parity finally.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see exactly what all comes over because I did see in the Big Sur version of messages, they had like the iMessage App Store icon down there, but they didn't actually show any iMessage apps, like third-party ones. So I'm wondering what kind of support is going to be carried over.
Because I guess iMessage apps, like they're just stickers and icon files, right? Like there wouldn't need to be any.
I mean, there's some games on there, but not many.
Well, then I wonder how that would work in terms of like running the iOS binary on an Intel Mac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they've been emulating iPhones on Macs for years, but who knows?
But yeah, you have to recompile that specifically though. Like you're compiling it for the simulator. Like I wouldn't think
Right.
when you submit it to the App Store that it includes a version like that. Maybe it does.
Yeah, maybe Rosetta can translate that too.
Both directions.
Yeah, who knows? I didn't even realize there were iMessage games. That's pretty cool. Like you play with your friend or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
So like
very
something like
cool.
you can play billiards and you send your billiard move to them and they send theirs back to you and you can watch it happen back in real time.
Okay,
I don't
that's
think
pretty
I've
cool.
ever done that.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's not very
Huh.
popular.
Well, the headline of the whole show was saved till last, right?
The Apple Silicon.
Apple Silicon, which we've kind of referenced a couple of times.
No, it seems so crazy too. Like I said, like I don't have any Mac apps yet. Fingers crossed, but it's just so exciting from an everything perspective. Like they're literally doing like a brain transplant on the Mac.
Right. And they're playing their cards really close to their chest with this transition because they're putting just the iPad Pro processor in the dev kit, even though they specifically said they're working on Mac specific processors. They said nothing about performance, just that it would be better. So I'm really expecting that when we get our first consumer Mac with an ARM chip, they're going to have numbers that just blow everyone out of the water, and they're really trying to save that big surprise for that point.
Yeah, you would think because shoving like, a processor in like a proper enclosure versus like the thin chassis that the iPad has, like you'd think they'd be able to crank out like a completely custom chip that would just blow everything away.
Right.
It'll be hilarious if they give out these dev kits and everyone's like, dang, these are fast. And then they, double it again by December.
I have a feeling that's what we're going to see. But
Yeah.
you've been approved for the dev kit, haven't you, Christian? So you'll be able to give us some insights.
Yeah, I
in.
just got the email. Yeah, this afternoon. So it said it'll ship out within 7 business days, which is pretty exciting.
Congrats.
Yeah,
And
no.
David, what about you?
I haven't heard anything back yet.
I still see like on my Twitter timeline, there's like people popping in every like few minutes getting an approval. So I don't think anything to read into.
I don't have any Mac apps published, so I know I'm not at the top. Although, I don't know
I
how
don't
they
either.
chose priority. Yeah, because you don't have a Mac app either. But you have a very popular app.
Yeah, and I mentioned in the description too, I was like, I really do want to do a Mac app as soon as I can, and this would help a lot. So I think that might have helped me a little bit too, but
Right.
we'll see. Did you apply like I think I was like refreshing the page frantically?
Yes, I
Is it
was
okay?
too.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
So I've been in the process of working on a Mac app that It's supposed to be a companion. I have a medical app that I write for Windows that I wanted to port to Mac, and I've been doing that with Electron.
Ooh.
I know. But if I get this developer kit, I'm going to take that as a sign that I should write it natively, and I'll switch to that.
How have you found the Electron stuff? I've never used it, so I can't even speak to it.
Well, as someone who's done a lot of like React and JavaScript development over the years, it's been really comfortable for me, and
Nice.
the couple additions that give you like access to system features, it's all really intuitive. So I've liked it quite a bit. But
it's like, truth be told, like I use Visual Studio Code quite a bit, and I think it's in some form of Electron, and
yeah,
I don't know, like I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do. I think the results should speak for themselves rather than kind of shaming the whole thing. But
right. So, but yeah, if I get the kit, I'll take it as a sign, and I'll scrap all my work, and that's what I've been saying. So we'll see what they say.
no, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. I'm curious if they're like, are they manufacturing these by like the millions in China to send out to like, I think they said they have like 23 million developers or something absurd.
Right.
Like it seems like I can't imagine there's some guy in Cupertino like hand making these.
Maybe at their Austin factory that's making the Mac Pros.
Maybe.
Ooh.
But yeah, I'm so curious to see what they look like. Is it just like the iPad board suspended in this Mac Mini chassis with like 90% hollow air?
I mean, if
But
it's anything like the Intel transition kit, that's exactly what they did. They had a Power Mac G5 case that they just put an Intel logic board in there, and it was mostly empty space inside.
Well, hey, I guess they don't really have anything smaller than the Mac Mini anyway, so.
Right.
I'm just curious to see if it'll work with like my monitors properly, because I have that LG 5K one that like I'm pretty sure it connects to the Mac over like shoestrings and pixie dust. Like it'll be curious to see if it.
It did seem like they were deliberately vague about the I/O on the back of this thing.
Yeah, they're like, it has USB ports.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got two USB 3, two USB A, sorry, two A, two C, both USB 3, Ethernet. It must have HDMI, right? Actually, I'm not sure about that one.
You would I think the normal Mac Mini does, so you would think. But I think like Thunderbolt 3 is what, like 40 gigabits a second versus like the 10 on USB 3. So it's.
I don't think it's going to be Thunderbolt in the USB 3 port. C port.
No, that's what I'm concerned about, because they have the Pro Display XDR was running like a champ or whatever. So they've clearly got the bandwidth, but I just know this, like I've got like a first gen 5K display, and like it does some weird Thunderbolt stuff. I don't think it's been updated to do anything over USB-C. So I might
Pro
just
Display needs Thunderbolt to run at 6K, but only USB to run at 4K. So it's possible that that's what we're seeing in the demos.
Does it need Thunderbolt for 6K? I thought it did some weird USB-C DisplayPort stuff.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't have one here to check, unfortunately.
No, me neither. David?
Sorry.
No? Oh, shame. Maybe
I'm
next
using-
year one of us will.
I'm using Apple monitors so old that iTunes refuses to play videos because they don't support the latest DRM.
Oh, do you have like the old aluminum
that.
cinema displays ones?
Yeah, I do.
See, those
They're
are
great monitors.
Oh, those
They
are
really
so
are.
pretty. Do you have like one of the 30 inches or?
No, I've got two of the 24-inch ones.
Still, no, those are pretty damn nice. It's crazy how well, like, I mean, even up until like, I don't know, like what, 2015, they were still like, the resolution on them was still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's above 1080, so.
Yeah, no. And then, yeah, 4K happened, but it's, you still can't beat the case they come in.
Right.
No, my LG I'm looking at right now is like, you know, Lego plastic, I think.
At least it doesn't get so hot. Like, this has like actual light bulbs behind them.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. No, I mean, it's, if you can look past the looks, like the panel's really nice. I mean, it ghosts like crazy, but yeah, I just kind of wish they'd wrap it in aluminum foil or something. At least trick me a little bit.
So another big feature of the Apple Silicon transition is that apps are going to be translated. So x86 apps will still run on the computer, which was a huge question before this is all announced. And they'll even be translated as you download them, if it's from the Mac App Store, or on first run, if it's something you just download off the internet. So it won't be even like real-time translation, so I guess that will lend itself to being a performant experience.
Yeah, it looked like actually really good, which was surprising. Like everyone was like, "Oh, will they even do it? Will it be fast? Will they just not bother because it'll be so slow?" And they're like, "Oh no, it works and it's really fast."
And it runs Tomb Raider 2018.
Yeah,
fine.
that was
I mean,
crazy.
I was more impressed by the Maya demo, but yeah, still. It
No,
seems
no,
like-
100%.
yeah.
Like that's nuts. Like I thought, like I looked away for a second and thought they were showing like, you know, Maya rebuilt for the Apple Silicon, but they're like, "Oh no, this is just Rosetta."
Right.
You know, it's crazy. Like the minds they have working over there on their like hardware like chip team. It seems like they've got like the same people who put people on the moon or something.
I mean, they've done this twice before, right? And I guess they're doing it basically, or more or less, the same as the last two times.
But it seems
Right.
like it's even like the PowerPC to Intel, like the Rosetta didn't seem this performant, was it?
Rosetta was real time for the first generation, so it definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
I remember
it's-
using like Photoshop CS2 maybe or something under Rosetta, and it was never like appalling. It was definitely usable.
Right, because I think there's it's funny that they like, because they even have Photoshop running on like native Apple Silicon, which was so funny to me because it seemed like in all the YouTube videos showing like the what was that Microsoft product? It was like the Surface Book X or whatever that ran ARM, and like Photoshop was what they always came back to. They're like, you know, it has to be run emulated. Like you try to scroll and it does it at like 5 frames per second. Like this is terrible. It's unusable. And Apple's like, oh no, like it works natively on for us.
Right.
Like what's going on over there?
Everyone was making fun of Craig for demoing Microsoft Word and saying, "Look, it works and it's smooth." But if Windows for ARM has shown us anything, that's not a guarantee. So
Oh
that
my
actually
God,
is nice
no.
to see.
Yeah, they should have like started Craig's presentation there with like a few YouTubers showing like the Windows ARM stuff and how like shoddily that's worked. Which, like, to be fair, I'm sure it's a crazy hard problem, but it was pretty damn cool how everything works so smoothly.
So we're going to see the first ARM Mac by the end of the year, but we're still going to see Intel Macs for a little bit as well. And then the entire transition will be completed in 2 years, which is a very aggressive sort of target, I think. Although the Intel transition was about that long, I think.
That's crazy to me though, because I wonder if that's saying like at the end of this ARM transition, like we're never gonna see, like I mean I guess it's obvious to say, but there'll never be another Intel Mac, because that means like this brand new Mac Pro they spent like 32
Right.
years making will have like a combined sale time of like 2.5 years, won't it?
Yeah, and also that they're going to have some chips that equal performance of the Mac Pro, which is pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, like that's a breakneck pace they're going at. I'm super excited, and I'm curious what like the first Mac will be. It seems like everybody's thinking it'll be something not super intensive like the MacBook Air.
Right. I mean, when you reasonably think that the Mac Pro is probably the last Mac that shifts to Apple's silicon, and that's, you know, a year and a half, 2 years off in the future, we might even be able to reasonably expect to see most of Apple's consumer product line shift over to Apple Silicon by WWDC next year.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like the Mac Pro would be like quite a long holdout.
Right.
I wonder if they'll like how many of these Macs like I can't imagine they'll even bother to redo it. I imagine it'll just be a Mac Pro update that it now has Apple Silicon in instead of Intel, but it'll be the exact same chassis and everything.
Right.
You would think, man, it would just seem crazy to, you know, demo that industrial design and everything and it be available for sale for 2 years.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're if it says performant and like heat efficient, as they say, maybe you don't need like the entire wind capacity of a windmill farm like the current Mac Pro has. Like that might just be complete overkill on like, you know, whatever they decide to run on it.
I wonder if Apple will be making their own graphics cards to accompany their CPUs in the Mac Pro, because I think you could put, you know, 5 A14 chips or whatever in a Mac Pro and it still wouldn't rival the 4 GPUs you can put in a Mac Pro right now.
Sure.
So they already make the Afterburner card that offloads a lot of that work from GPUs. I wonder if they'll amp it up and make something like that as well.
To be fair, they're killing it pretty hard on the GPU front on the iPads too, aren't they? Maybe they're just like chomping at the bit to be like, all right, David, let's show you what we got.
I like how they noted it was a 1,000 times increase in GPU power, but that could also just mean like the first GPUs they designed were like really, really
right.
Yeah, on purpose they made them out of like TI-84 calculators so they could have a yeah, you never know. But I
don't think the current architectures can have external GPUs, right? Because system memory is shared between graphics and CPU. So there's going to be some sort of crazy change to even allow external GPUs to be used with Apple Silicon.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's so many unanswered questions.
And a lot won't be answered by this developer transition kit just because of how strict this contract is about don't run any performance tests on it. Don't post any reviews about what you think about it or anything else.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God, it's like you're not even allowed, like there was one provision that was even like, don't draw a picture of it.
Right.
And it's like, I was pretty sure they were like, it's literally a Mac Mini.
Right.
So I don't know how interesting a drawing would be, but you're not allowed to do it. And it has to be.
So no iFixit teardowns is what I'm hearing.
Well, iFixit has definitely deliberately done this in the past and like voided their contracts to still publish teardowns, but they're technically not supposed to.
Yeah, there's going to be some dumbass who, ruins their development account to provide a YouTube video or something, but I can't imagine there'll be too many people.
Right.
Now you have to return these at the end. Was there any provision for either getting money back or picking up another computer at the end of it in exchange?
And the NDA thing they said, I don't believe they had anything listed there because I think the NDA is like, I think it's just like a public URL. Like I think 9to5Mac has it and everything. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just like, just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything to that effect either. I did see someone post on Twitter that you could use that $500 as a credit towards another Mac when you return it, but I don't know where they got that from.
Yeah, that's not in the public agreement thing I saw. So
right, I didn't see it either.
Very sus. Yeah, I don't know where they come up with that, but the at the same time, like it would like knowing nothing and just speculating, it would seem weird to me for like this to be something like Apple's like going to try to leverage to make their next $1 billion out of. Like it seems like it's.
Well, I think you're definitely paying more for the access to like one-on-one developer assistance than you're paying for the unit itself.
Yeah, no, that's true too. I guess yeah, you're probably getting a lot of engineer time.
Right.
So yeah,
I think the dollar figure also had just like a hurdle to overcome, like a bit of a pain point, so that every man and his dog didn't apply for it.
Yeah, like the WWDC tickets.
Yeah,
and given that the old transition kit was like $1,000, like they cut it in half. So yeah, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they're just like give them back. Hope that was worth $500 to you.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean, it's cheap by Mac Mini standards. So.
Oh my God, and assuming it's faster than Mac Minis, like yeah, that's a crazy good deal.
Right. Although that was another thing on the agreement is that you couldn't use it for anything except development.
Yeah, I saw that. Are they going to be like and monitoring your network traffic for too many YouTube videos and
that was also on there. It said they were going to be monitoring it.
Yeah, so we'll see. They're like, you're slacking off too much, give it back.
Got a little case opening indicator that sends them a ping when you open it.
Right. Oh, I bet there's something like that. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Like the warranty void sticker on steroids or something.
We're going pretty long, but we could probably just finish up. A little curveball that they threw at the end is that iOS apps will just run on ARM Macs, which was just, I don't know. I was taken by surprise.
That
never saw that coming.
Too. No, that seems like such a weird. Like that seems to me like what like Google did with the Chromebooks. And they're like they can run Android since nobody's building apps for Chromebooks. Like we might as well just use this other thing we have. Like it seems like something you do when you don't have enough developers already.
No one's using Catalyst, so we just got to run iOS apps.
Yeah, it's weird. And how like didn't BlackBerry try to do that? Where they like at the end of their life they were like, you can run Android apps on BlackBerry. Please use our phones, and it didn't help.
It's another little hint that we might get touch-based Macs as well, because like multi-finger gestures and that. There's no way besides touch to actually do them.
That's true. No, that's very curious. I'm fine, I suppose, if somebody wants to download my app and use it that way, but I'd much sooner just build a proper Mac app. But I guess it's for those people who I guess don't want to.
Right. It was interesting. This is something you can opt out of, but developers are opted into by default. So unless you go in and say, I don't want people to download this on a Mac, it just will happen.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things where if 90% of people do it and you don't, you're going to be the asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't seem like something you'd want to opt out of.
It's going to be CPR for the Mac App Store, though. It's going to like give it a breath of life, finally.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. That's probably where you'd install it from then, obviously.
So this could be really good news for you, James. It means you can finally run Ferrite on the Mac.
What's Ferrite?
Oh, that's going to be a dream. Ferrite's the really excellent iOS podcast editing piece of software. There's just nothing on the Mac that even compares to it. It's
really?
It's
that good? Jesus.
It's that good.
Huh. That seems like an obvious one. You'd think they'd port over then.
Might not have to. It might just be a checkbox.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, yeah. You never know.
All right. Well, we hate to keep you from bed any longer, Christian.
Oh, no. Trust me. I wish it was anything else. This is a riot. I look forward to this every year.
Well, it's always great to have you on the show.
No, it's genuinely a pleasure. It's nice to, especially where there's not anybody in real life going to WWDC with. It's always nice to be able to talk to someone about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and on Twitter.
And I'm Christian Selig on Reddit and Twitter.
You're not I Am That Is?
Oh, shit. That would help, wouldn't it? Yeah, there's probably some weirdo on Reddit. Yeah, no, you're right. I Am That Is on Reddit. I don't know, man. I wonder why. I guess I probably didn't want my full identity to be tied to my Reddit account originally. Yeah, scrap that. I'm Christian Selig on Twitter, and I Am That Is on Reddit.
Do you want me to go and verify that that's your Twitter account as well?
Yeah, I just did, and it thankfully is.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again.
Pleasure's all mine.
I gotta say all right at the end of this.